evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway as we get ready for playoff race number 6, race number 14. This is the season finale for the 64th season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. That's right, at the conclusion of tonight's 66-lapper, we're crowning ourselves a champion. Two drivers come into this Final Four, former champions looking to add yet another trophy to their collection. Two drivers, however, are looking for their very first championship here in the Talladega Challenge Series. Who's going to come out on top? We can't wait to find out. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Michael Norman, Kyle Matthews. Guys, we set the table last week, I was going to say yesterday, feels like yesterday, last Thursday night at Talladega Superspeedway, Donnie Garrett picking up the victory. Now that doesn't win him the championship, but he is the top seeded of the Final Four coming into tonight. 5 points over Grant Wesley, 10 over Josh Metallic, Dunn LaPrade a distant 17 points back. A lot of the drivers, when we talked to them before last week's race, even 2 weeks ago when we were here having the elimination race to determine the Final Four, said, we're looking at those two races potentially as a must-win situation. That way we can be at the front, stay at the front. Has the situation changed, do you think, for any of these four drivers?
I don't really see, the situation changing. Again, it's four drivers just trying to get maximum points. Wouldn't be any different other than with it being a championship on the line, Seth. And honestly, you got some starting from the very back. So, they're jumbled up all over the place. So it should be very interesting to see if we can see those drivers drive through the field and try to get as many points as possible.
I think they're going to have a lot of the same strategy that we saw last week. I mean, it worked out well for Donnie Garrett, as we saw. Just looked like he was just trying to go for the win last week. It paid off for him. He's leading the points, and looking like he's the slight championship favorite so far.
You mentioned points, and there's a lot of them on the table here tonight as 40 drivers, I was going to say 41, but 40 drivers going to be taking the green flag here tonight. Here's the way that they line up. John Godfrey gets the random qualifying draw, as he will be on the pole position. He'll be alongside of Greg Palmer. Pat McCarskey is going to make up row number 2 with Rodney Sullins. Jeff Crivello will be the top 5. All 5 of those drivers looking for their first win on the season. Tim Nofsker, the outgoing champion, is going to line up on the outside of row 3 and 6. Cy Jones will be with Grant Wesley, who is one of our Final Four. They'll be in row number 4. Grant's the only driver of our Final Four that's even going to start this race inside of the top 20. As you got Glenn Harris and Ken Roberts, they'll be back in row 5. Jessica Shelton, Denny Carroll, row 6. Row 7 will be Jeremy Jeffries and Bernie Mobbs. Row 8, Bob Seminara, Greg Lovell, Jeffrey Elliott, Graham McDonald. They're back in row 9. Your top 20 completed with Jim Gloud and Kelly Causey. Row 11 finds Ulysses Sandoval and Terry Bombard. Row 12, Mike Mangialardi. And you finally, in 24th, find another playoff driver in Donnie Garrett. Row 13 will hold Chuck McClure and Richard Martin. Row 14, Doug Hewlick and Randy Waugh. Long
Luigi.
Pause for effect. There it is. Row 15, your top 30 completed with Craig Hagley and Brian Schilling. Joe DeSpirito, multi-time winner on the season. He's back in row 16 alongside of one of our Final Four contenders, Dunn LaPrade, who may be in a must-win situation here tonight to win this championship. You go back to row 17, find Mark Paglia and our last of the Final Four competitors, that being Josh Metallic. Row 18 will be Bob Dixon and Dennis McCarthy. Row 19, John Forgione in the field here tonight, alongside of Tom Dixon. Ron Hagelin and Brian Rawson will make up the 40-car field here this evening. 66 laps of racing. One driver at the end of the night will be the Season 64 Talladega Challenge Series champion. We're ready to go racing in the finale. Four drivers looking for a championship, 36 drivers, they just want to win. And we saw a lot of aggressive racing last week. Expect to see a lot of the same here tonight.
Oh yeah, I'll be really surprised if we don't see aggressive racing tonight. I mean, they've been that way the last 3 or 4 races. So, I mean, I think we're in for a treat tonight.
Now, the further we get into playoffs, the more drivers get eliminated, more drivers we have that no longer have the pressure of worrying about points, worrying about a championship hanging in the balance, frees them up to be more aggressive in their racing style. in an attempt to get as many checkered flags before the close of this season. One championship has already been decided, and we're hopefully going to be able to talk with him post-race here tonight, regardless of whether he finishes on the podium or not. We were going to try and grab him last week, but Brian Schilling has locked up the Challenger Series championship as he was able to outfinish Mike Mangialardi last week, so congratulations to him. He'll be looking to finish out here with his second checkered flag on the season. As John Godfrey was able to get up in front of Greg Palmer. And now that middle line is rumbling. Top 4 are clear. Grant Wesley in 5th may have also gotten clear. Jessica Shelton going to follow and try and clear for 6th. Jeremy Jeffrey stuck on that inside line, trying to get something going there, but he's lost about 3-4 positions just in the last couple corners alone. The momentum is definitely in that middle groove.
As it always is usually. Middle groove has it going up until at least the third lane gets started, and then that middle lane kind of dies out a little bit.
I was just about to say, I'm surprised they haven't tried to form a third lane. And
Which,
as soon as
did you say
that pops
that?
into my head, yes, you see him trying to form a third lane. Looks like
Ulysses
Sandoval.
got it going, and then Bob Seminara and Jessica Shelton going to try to get that line. Bob kind of thinking a little different here. Just going to stay there. Guess that there's no momentum yet on the for a third lane. Now she does.
Jeffrey Elliott was also trying to do it as well. Now he'll also get up in that third line, that yellow 56.
I believe that was Bernie Mobbs that you were trying to refer to right there, stuck in the middle lane all by himself.
And you saw as soon as that third lane formed, drivers that were clear in the middle line immediately went to the bottom, because we'll usually see they get 3 wide. The middle line and the third line will stall each other out, and that puts the momentum to the inside line. But look at that. Nice tight draft there, 4-car tandem.
Lead. Got help from Bob Seminara right there, and
Chuck McClure on the outside, but now she's got to make a decision coming up. Go low or stay high, because that top lane, there you go. There's a decision right there. Like she heard me or something.
Unlike Ulysses. 3 wide now for second. Whoa!
Oh, 4 wide.
Hewlett either got really tight there through the tri-oval or may have gotten a little bit of a bump from Ken Roberts. Either way, got out of shape, and that could stall the momentum of that third line. Only 3 cars in the middle, however. Seminara, Elliott, and Sandoval, no help.
Shelton led that lap there, and
Jess, I think, wanted to go up to the top, but didn't.
First lead change of the race so far.
Grant Wesley right now still the highest of the playoff drivers. Last time by was scored in 8th. I think he's right now unofficially in 7th. Mentioned about the fact that all the rest of the other 3 of the final 4 started 24th or worse in the lineup. Right now, last time by, Dunlap Pratt has worked his way to 21st. Donnie Garrett has drifted back to 31st, and Josh Metallic was scored in 30th place. So not a lot of progress made by any of those 3 drivers here yet. We'll usually see about 7-8 laps in at Talladega, drivers be able to work from the back of the pack up into the top 5. Maybe have to be a little bit more patient in working your way forward at BSR. Grant's not waiting around. He's going to move up to the middle line, get some help there from Jeremy Jeffries. You got 4 former champions, all nose to tail there. Add Chuck McClure and Bob Seminara into that quartet.
Grant Wesley leading that middle line right there. You know, he'd like to get up front, get himself a bonus point. Very tight battle for the championship. How many points behind is he?
Only
I know
5.
He's in second.
Only 5. And, you know, a lot of people, I mentioned this at the beginning of the playoffs as well, might think, well, if you have a 2-race final round, isn't there going to be a runaway? Oh, we got a spin! Sandoval around! He hits somebody else. That was Terry Bombard. Is the caution out? No. Lights are still green.
That's a tough break right there. I don't think Ulysses got any damage. I saw a little bit of back-end damage to the 10 car.
I think he got into the inside wall, but there you see lights are still out on the pace car, and we're 3 wide for the top position coming around to complete lap number 7. Doug Hulick around the top side there. Hewlett looking to get back to victory lane. His first and only career win here in the series came at this very racetrack.
If only that was the finish of the race.
Yeah, right?
And once again, we get the 55 and the 88 right next to each other.
Of course.
Also known as a spotter's nightmare.
Roberts now going to move into second. Kelly Causey into third. That outside line, that third lane finding a ton of momentum. This is a little unusual. Normally in a three-wide situation, we don't see the momentum go to that outside line, that extreme outside line, but from turn 4 all the way through the tri-oval on the previous lap, they made it work, and they're continuing to still make it work. Look, there's only, 5, 6 cars up there. Somehow they're able to keep the draft tight. And they are going to swing around both the middle and the inside line. At least the top 4, top 5 will. Oh, no! This is going to be a big one. Craig Hagley gets spun right in front of the field, right in the middle of the turn. Caution's going to come out.
Grant
and now
Wesley was in it.
Yeah, now we just look for those final 4 contenders. There's LaPrade. I see him. I see Garrett. Still looking for the 39. Jeffrey Elliott went up and over. Chuck McClure went up and over. Kyle, it's been a couple weeks. You might have to get your flip counter back out.
Yeah, so at least 1 or 2 there.
There's another car up here smoking. I think that might be the 17. It is. That was around the 3rd position, too, right in the middle of the corner. Wrecks at the front of the field. In the center of the turns are some of the toughest ones to avoid. And a number of drivers badly torn up in this one. And you mentioned it, Michael. Grant Wesley was right in the middle of that, so jury is out on just how much damage he might have sustained. We'll have to try and diagnose it when we go back and look at a replay, but field was frozen and Ken Roberts led us back here for our first yellow of the night.
This was right at the front of the field, too.
Is there another car up here that's smoking, or is that still the 56? That is still the 56. Let's go back, take a look. Started with the 82 of Craig Hagley, who was in that 3rd line that was having all that momentum.
Going back and looking at it, one thing I did see is Dun LaPrade. He just slammed he slammed on the brakes and almost came to a complete stop.
Smart.
I think we're looking at it right now, but yeah, definitely would want to look at that. Look at his, because I mean he just hit the brake.
Josh Metallic did get through.
The 88 might be okay. If he did, I think he spun, but didn't really hit the wall per se. Like right there, he got spun. He didn't really. He came up. He nosed into Jess, who was already upside down, and then lightly tapped the outside wall. So he might be okay, aside from a little bit of cosmetic damage.
Can't tell if the 56 moved up or if the 82 came down.
Could be a combination of both, really. We'll go to the overhead cam as well. It almost looks like a little more so the 82 coming down, but it was certainly...
Yeah, the 56 was like a half a groove lower than he should have been, and then the 82 thinking, okay, well, I guess he'll back off, or just like, oh, he's probably not really there, and he was. And I think it was a little bit of like the bubble this mod has, as well as, I guess you could say hitboxes. I think that's just was a hitbox thing.
Could also have been a case here. Let's see. The 56 makes the move, and I'm almost wondering if he's kind of second-guessing himself and trying to tuck back up behind the 82. 82 may be thinking, all right, we're getting an inside line going. I'm going to come down there, and I don't think it was necessarily hitbox. Definitely the 56 was to the left rear quarter panel, but it is also harder to judge whether you're clear on somebody when you're in the corner rather than on a straightaway.
Hey, let's ride on board our final 4.
Yeah, one driver I think we need to ride on board with specifically is Josh Metallic, because Grant was swept up in this. Dun LaPrade, you mentioned, came to a stop. Donnie Garrett, I think, may have almost come to a stop. He was all the way down towards the inside wall, but I believe the 39 of Josh Metallic actually raced his way through this. Let's go on board with him first.
Really a lot to see right there.
Nope. But hey, didn't get run over.
And gained all those spots.
He did. Started this race from 34th. Was 18th the last time by, and I think he was able to work his way up maybe close to the top 10 with that move.
Let's look at Dun LaPrade now.
From what it sounded like you described, I would assume kind of a la Dale Jr. from that one, what was it, a Daytona race back in the day?
04. No, it was Talladega 04 where he got a little bit of it, but he's like stopped and just drove through it slowly.
03.
Sorry, yeah, it was 03, not 04. Which I have the diecast of the car he won with race.
And I can tell you from experience, this is the instinct of a driver when you're in a championship battle. But the thing you're hoping and praying is that not only you slow, but everybody behind you slows as well, because you could very easily get pushed into the wreck.
What just happened there reminded me nothing of what happened on Tuesday night.
These drivers know where the brake pedal is.
I was waiting to see if you were going to say something.
Do you really want to bring up Tuesday night?
Here's Donnie Garrett. He was already on the inside line.
User joined your channel.
And goes immediately.
Knock on wood. Look what happened.
Well, none of us talked to you, or not to you, but none of us talked about you, so it wasn't commentator.
The commentator's curse didn't happen, at least.
It's not the commentator curse.
No. Nope.
How about that for the first 12 laps? Are we expecting a really interesting race with the championship on the line?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, most of the playoff drivers were able to get through. We're going on board with Grant now here to...
Grant, I'm telling you, I don't believe Grant got a lot of damage out of it. Right here, see, he just got turned, he slides up the track, just barely nudges Jess a little bit, and then barely touches. Who was that? It's right in front of him. He just missed Jess.
Is that, I think, the 95? I think it was 95.
Chuck McClure, or was it?
No, Chuck McClure was heavily involved in this.
I think that was John Forgione.
Yeah, and according to Seminaris said he had a good view of that wreck, and he almost got through. He got tagged a little bit, but he said he got no damage. So I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if y'all looked at him yet or not.
Chuck McClure's trying.
He's the Stanley Steamer.
He's leading the race, but he's pushing the pace car.
He's just trying to survive.
Just getting all the points he can here, get the lap led before the. Well, I mean, if that car's still running, they may actually fix it. He won't be up to speed, but they might actually fix that. I mean, there's not much in it, but Chuck comes into this race 6th in the playoff standings. He's 4 points behind Ulysses Sandoval for 5th, which is the highest you can get of those that were eliminated in the round of 8. I don't know, maybe a little bragging rights if I finish the highest of those drivers that were eliminated in the last round.
Also, it's also about the fact that moving forward to next season, Seth, remember, they have a new rule format of the first 3 races in the top 20 or top 25 are automatically locked in or something like that.
Good point.
Maybe he's wanting to secure himself completely to where he can miss 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 if he needs to, if there's a problem.
Yeah, good point, making prior plans for next season, even here in a season finale. So we're going to get the green on lap 14. Looks like the only 2 drivers officially out of the race right now, Jeffrey Elliott and Jess, who's now up here in the booth with us. We'll wait and see if Chuck McClure will be the 3rd or not. Currently 38 drivers scored running and all currently on the lead lap. Grant Wesley is going to start out back in 31st place. So now the script is flipped here with Grant having the track position advantage when the green flag dropped. Everybody else outside of the top 20. Now you've got Josh Metallic up in 10th for this restart. Dun LaPrade in 19th. Donnie Garrett in 21st. So they're still spread out. But Josh, who was the lowest of the final 4, now is the highest. Grant, who was the highest, is now the lowest.
Chuck's still sitting on the pit road, Seth.
Hopefully they'll fix it. He hasn't retired, so...
And I hate it for everybody that was in that wreck, but that caution was a good break
for
Ulysses Sandoval and Terry Bombard, who was in that first wreck that did not bring out a caution.
Good point.
Well, Chuck's back on the track, so he's going to get it all shot he can get here.
I mean, we talked about the fact that it's really seemed like we get closer towards the end of this season. The aggressive level picks up. Drivers trying to get that final checkered flag before the close of the season. And we saw that 3 wide, several rows deep. Chuck might think we may see a couple more big ones, and he could work his way up to a somewhat decent finishing position, better than where he's currently scored in 38th. This here we go, getting ready to go back green. Mark Paglia going to be the one that will get us back underway in the 28 car. John Godfrey started the pole on the outside of the front row.
A couple drivers way back here already making it 3 wide. Kelly Causey, Sandoval, Rawson went up, then Rawson's coming back down. Ken Roberts going back up there, and we saw Ken Roberts up near the front before that wreck started. So, I mean, maybe Roberts still has something underneath that hood that can get him up there. So we go 3 wide. That bottom we thought was going to be pretty good, which it was to begin with. But then you saw right before that wreck happened, that top side just randomly came out of nowhere.
Maybe the most momentum I've ever seen the third line have in a 3-wide situation, and that might give drivers a little bit of hope, a little bit more extra incentive. You mentioned those drivers back there already going 3 wide. What is going on with the 143? And he's going to get Mangialardi.
And Despirito is involved.
Another one on the flip counter. Terry Bombard.
That's 3.
And I think Grant might have made it through that one too. The last caution saved Ulysses, but now he was almost a part of this one.
Well, the last caution did save Terry Bombard as well. He wasn't so fortunate here. Let's
go back and take a look. That was a very boogie there out of the 143.
That was a very weird incident. What was going on with Bob Dixon there? He said warp, it looked like.
I thought he was coming to pit road at first. Oh, wow, into
Donnie Garrett. I don't know how he survived that. He's got to be thanking his lucky stars for that.
Well, Grant had a nice view of that one.
Yes, he did. Snakes his way through on the inside.
Of it, thankfully.
Jeremy Jeffries was in it. Joe Despirito.
Glenn Harris got side hit by the warp of Dixon, and he went right into the grass. He had it saved, and all of a sudden that grass, so you know how that grip is down there, Seth. He just started going sideways himself. Couldn't help it.
We're going to just quickly, we'll go with a couple of onboards here, but we're going to just quickly focus the camera there on Donnie Garrett. And Dunn LaPrad's right in front of him as well, right behind the warping car of Bob Dixon. So heart-stopping moment for a couple of our Final Four, but watch this right here. I mean, he's inside the 77 for a moment. He's literally inside of Donnie Garrett's car.
If Donnie Garrett ends up winning this championship, I'm definitely going to ask him about that. What was he thinking when he saw that 143 car coming up into it?
Did you feel you were in control, like somebody else was driving your car?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus, take the wheel, please.
Control? We have no control.
We need to look. We'll do some onboards, but I want to first do an onboard with a 77. I want to see if actually the 143's cockpit appears inside of the 77s.
Going old school DJ Curtis style.
Oh yeah,
gracious.
A little bit. It's like that's gonna make you nervous, you know, just seeing a car warp in front of you like that. Then you see it coming your way. It's like.
Grant Wesley in the 88 in the middle of the last wreck, able to make it through this one. You hear him already bail out of the throttle.
Just seeing the 10 cars flipping from in-car is just crazy.
And with that being said, Michael, again, like I said when I came up here, you wouldn't know that there's a championship or anything on the line or at stake, would you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, we talk about drivers vying for the opportunity to get a checkered flag before the conclusion of the season. Bear in mind that on May 1st, we've got the Super Speedway All-Star race coming up, and you win here, you're locked into that field. You don't have to rely on the open as well. So you talked about like future plans, Jess. That's a future plan as well for some of those drivers that are not yet locked into that official field.
Yeah, that's got to be weighing heavily on a lot of these people's minds that are, you know, one last ditch effort to get into it. I mean, they always have that open. It's almost open for before we get to the heat. You know, the actual main event itself, but also if you don't make it with that, that's understandable. There's always the Speedway one that's there for what is like April 28th.
28th, I believe. Yep. And we'll have
There's always
both of
that one.
those for you here on FRN.
Along with what I was whispering Kyle earlier about the event tomorrow too.
That's true. Yeah, actually, appreciate that. I'll lead in with that as tomorrow night. 10:30 will be live here, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the season finale for the Amish's Survivor Series. They'll be at South Boston. We'll not only have the Wreck It Up survival race for you, but following that, we're going to be bringing you the iteration known as a pole race. And I had to kind of go to school the last time we broadcasted that race. I thought it was a race where you're running for the pole. No, it's a race where you're actually running around a physical pole. And
no strings attached.
No, it was very unique, very interesting, very fun to observe, but completely the polar opposite of what I was thinking it was going to be when I heard the term pole race.
Pole, like a long stick or a
Yeah,
swimming
like a
pool?
long stick. So basically,
Okay.
for anybody that doesn't know how it works, basically it's you complete a lap, but it will only count if you end up driving around a physical pole. It's very weird, but it's really cool.
I do want to take a moment to mention also, Seth, that Terry in the drivers meeting, either it was Terry or Josh or someone, mentioned that if you get wrecked by one of your opponents tonight, or you have a grudge with someone who's wronged you or whatever, tomorrow night is the perfect time for you to get them back.
There you go.
Because that's what the survival race is all about, trying to get after your opponent and enjoying and having fun.
You also are going to have the AI cars you're going to have to watch out for. I think there's 3 of them in total. They're called the Larry cars for
Wait.
former-
Did they have... Was that also... You and I did a broadcast not too long back. Well, I think it was like, what? It was a dirt track, or was it 8 Ball? Or was it
I
Mass,
think
or...
it might have been. I think it might have been 8 Ball. I think I know what you're talking about. Was that Virtual 8 you're thinking of?
And that was with I think Terry and Mitch were in there, weren't they?
I don't remember if they were in there. I remember that was Adam Radysky, an Adam Radysky race.
Well, it was one that we had Terry and Mitch racing, and they were doing pretty good, and it was hectic, it was crazy, but it was also fun to watch.
Oh yeah. And the drivers have said that it's fun to participate in as well. No, that's the thing. We're gonna have our heads on a swivel tomorrow night trying to figure out who's running where.
Now it's gonna be you and Kyle?
Yes, that's correct. Michael's gonna be asleep.
Or am I gonna be asleep?
Probably.
Well,
I mean,
We're
I'm
gonna
not. It's just due to specific reasons I can't commentate a race.
by the way,
Shut up.
we're gonna be going back to green on lap 19, so
May
this
9th?
actually
Is
is
it-
getting
but
close
is it May
to
19th?
the no Kane, hush. They're getting close to the where we would be at if we did have normal pit stops too, but we're going to be a couple laps short too, so there's going to be that incentive if we go green there. So a keyword if we go green.
Which is also interesting because a little mixed bag of drivers that came to pit road and those that didn't. Right now, scoring is showing that the top 14 did not pit under this caution period. From 15th on back, they did, most just to come down and top off the fuel tank. So a little bit shorter on fuel for those top 14 than the rest of the other drivers behind them too. If we go into a long green flag run, they'll have to come to pit road somewhere around, 2, 3, 4 laps sooner than everybody else.
I'm
None of
surprised.
those 14 were championship drivers, though, so that's at least a positive. At least the championship drivers are all on the same level field. I don't think anyone wants to do anything different at this point in the race.
They're all together. They're all clumped together. There they are.
I'm surprised that many cars stayed out. Usually, like, it seems like every time the caution comes out, anytime they get an opportunity to come down pit road, they take it. So something. What is that? The 6 car coming down with an issue? Looks like.
Is he coming down or is he EOLing? Looks like he's EOLing.
I do
Okay.
want to point out, Bob Dixon's still out there on the track, and fun fact, Kyle, your buddy, in 5th place here. Look at that nice mellow yellow machine.
Oh yes.
Jim in the field for the second straight week in that Classic 72's green flag back in the air. Lap 20.
Definitely wins the best paint scheme award.
Actually, lap 19. I thought we were 19 going on to 20, but we're 18 going on to 19.
Yep, that's what I said. We're going back to green on 19, Seth. Calm down. We know you're eager to see what happens next, but calm down.
Rodney Sullivan's going to move up to the top.
3 wide about to start here.
Is that Pat McCarskey back there?
Graham McDonald, Greg Palmer looking to make it 3 wide. Really close racing between
Three
Graham
wide
and
for
Mark.
second here.
I think there was
72.
contact.
Yeah, a little bit. Graham was really pushing down on Mark there. That Darrell Waltrip throwback scheme right there.
You've now got Metallic, Garrett, Wesley lined up nose to tail on the inside line. Dunlap Prad now is going to tuck in right behind Donnie. Grant actually went up to the top. We were about to have all 4 of those drivers lined up nose to tail. Kind of was going to remind me shades of that one season, Jess, where it was you, Grant, Joe, and Bob all finished one after the other after the other after the other in that finale race, that championship race.
Yeah, but yeah. Memories. ... Hey, the good news is I led the championship for maybe a couple laps before I fell back.
That is true.
But still, it was good. It was a good time.
They
Back
all finished in the top 10.
If you look back here, they're trying to do something here. You got Ulysses and Pat McCarskey. I don't know whether they're trying to get out the way or if they're trying to move forward because Ulysses seems to be a little bit off. We got Ken Roberts starting to make a move at the top there over Tom Dixon to start another 3rd line form up there near where Josh Metallic is. So I don't know whether that's going to do anything at this point.
Yeah, only really two-car tandems in that 3rd lane, and they're not together. Now they're going to get some more. That's Brian Schilling. I can't tell. Is that Jeremy Jeffries as well moving up there?
Jeremy's back there too.
I noticed there's only 1 car off the pace, far from the pack. That's the 10 of Terry Bombard.
Wait, Chuck still? Did Chuck actually catch back up?
Nope, Chuck's also off the pace. He's just out of frame.
And Glenn Harris is out of frame too. Glenn's a little bit behind Terry. But yeah, riding with Terry. Terry is really having struggling issues with like you said, Seth, just ride around and see what you can gain. As far as I was concerned, my speed wasn't going to cut it.
I mean, at least you were able to walk up to the booth this time, unlike the time that you kind of like flew out of your car through the tri-oval and got up here the quicker way.
Yeah,
that was an interesting one.
That was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that Will Hoy EXE doesn't exist now.
It doesn't exist.
Anyway.
I didn't know you had an ejector button in your car. Wow, that's...
Pull the lever, Crunk.
Wrong lever.
Got John Forgione, also known as Diesel, in the 95.
Kevin Nash?
Not quite.
Did he tear his quad?
Well, his tires are still good,
Donnie
so I'm
Garrett
guessing not.
here in a 3-wide situation with Dunn in front of him. Kind of sketchy based on what's happened earlier. Hopefully this will be a little bit more smoother than what we saw earlier.
Yeah, interesting. All 4 of the championship competitors are all in that middle wow.
Come on.
That's a sentence. In that middle line now, all just separated by the Batmobile of Tom Dixon.
Donnie will go to the inside, see that 3rd lane for him. I think Donnie's thinking about what we normally would have, that bottom one moving, that 3rd lane starting to move.
Donnie said last week he loves the inside line. He feels it's the safest place to be.
It is until you get right.
It makes me wonder though, like what are the 4 championship contenders thinking? Like all the carnage that we've already seen so far, and we're not even halfway yet. Like, where do they want to be running right now? Do they want to just run toward the back, try to stay out of trouble, then make their move late, or just go for it?
I'll tell you where they want to be. They want to be sitting in their pit stall on pit road, scored a lap every time the field comes around to the start finish line.
You know what I'm amazed about is I'm not sure whether some of these guys are actually trying to ride or whether they're trying to be forced to get up to the front. Because honestly, if I was a part of the championship 4 and I wasn't wrecked like I was earlier, I would be wanting to get to the front and lead a lap, at least 1 lap to get that extra bonus point, because we had that last race and now there's this race. You need to counter whatever was gained that last race to actually have a chance this race.
And here we have 2 of the championship contenders working
Well,
together.
there's Chuck.
They're Grant Wesley and Josh
Well,
Metallic right there.
are they working together? Because I was kind of wondering, but going back to last week, remember when Donnie Garrett was making moves, Grant Wesley would make the same moves to keep the 77 in his rearview mirror. When Josh went up to that third line, I think Grant may have gone up there just to make sure that he was ahead of the 39 on the racetrack here. I'm not necessarily certain that they were working together.
Well, they're not anymore, if they were.
Tim Novsker back here with Ulysses and Brian Ross, and they're both actually starting to make a little bit of progress back here on that third lane. So in the back, the third lane is working. I don't know how well it is up at the front because I'm looking here at the back where Dunn is.
Well, they're still trying to get formed up here. John Forcione's going to jump up there in front of Metallic. Grant Wesley's been put in the sucker hole with Mike Mangialardi, so they're starting to go backwards.
Now, Dunn's back here in 32nd spot. Believe it or not, Jeremy is a couple cars back at the tail end of this pack, so I don't know how bad the damage is on that machine.
It's looking like 35 drivers in this lead group, all on the lead lap. You saw a few laps ago Chuck McClure go -1. They are about half a racetrack away from catching Terry Bombard and Glenn Harris.
Whoa, Brian Ross in a little bit of warp back here.
Oh yeah, just saw that shimmy there on the top of the screen.
It's the second car we've seen have an
Seeing
issue
if
like
Dunn can get
that.
around him here. 4 wide almost.
Yeah, Dunn
I hope
Brad at the back of the pack there, and I had him listed of our final four pretty much in a must-win situation coming into tonight. While there were 40 drivers that took the green, and he's only 17 points back. It always seems like invariably when it comes down to the playoffs, whether it's 12 drivers or 8 drivers or 4 drivers, they always seem to find each other in the same spot on the racetrack near the end of the race. So you're only usually able to gain 3, 4, 5 points on the drivers in front of you. You need those max points here tonight if you're that fourth of the 4 championship drivers. I think that 74 is in a must-win situation, and we haven't yet seen him anywhere close to the front.
Well, I just want to point out, just because he wins the race, whoever finishes second, depending on what the points are, the winner may not win the championship.
That is true, but I feel like he's got... Oh, Lord, contact!
Oh boy, how did they keep that together?
I don't
feel like
know.
he's got
Graham McDonald
Lord.
with a late move on Paglia, who went to
Watch the
block.
back, watch the
Well,
back,
well,
watch
here
the
we go,
back.
here we go. Dunn's coming. Dunn's got like 4 spots he's trying to get right here.
Wow.
There goes Brian Ross with a huge shot in the back of Dunn. Dunn's going to gain 4 or 5 spots after that.
That should have been big one number 2. That should have been big one number 2. They made just the right angle of contact,
they're
door
getting
to
on the apron
door.
down there. They're getting on the apron down there, getting loose all of a sudden here. I believe that was John Godfrey, the white and blue.
If they were looking for a place to wreck, they
All
sure
right,
missed a good
Was it
opportunity.
Godfrey or Schilling?
Yep, it's Godfrey. Here comes Josh Metallic on the outside.
Speaking of blue and white, real quick, speaking of Schilling, congratulations to Brian Schilling for winning the bracket championship
Yes,
this season.
indeed. Didn't have to go into a champions rematch here tonight. He was
Neither
able to
did
lock it
I.
up last week. That's true.
About to say,
Rude.
you know a thing or two about winning the bracket championship.
Yeah, but this is like Brian's 5th or 6th one, so yeah. I mean, we're talking about championship, Kyle. So Brian's done this a time or 2.
Second driver in RTG history to finish in the top 5 in all the regular season races. Joe DeSpirito was the first. I got you, Joe. Called it wrong at the end of the regular season.
You had to remind them.
Said Brian was the first, and Joe was like, hold on just a second. Check your facts.
Whoa,
You acknowledged
wow,
your tribal
really
chief.
low on that entry.
Indeed.
I'm watching these guys on their entry. Some of them are going extremely low, and when they go extremely low, they're having to back off a little bit.
Yeah, Cy Jones was on the apron back there through 1 and 2.
The 7 is loose back there. I think that's the 7 is loose back there. But my job at Pizza, they've acknowledged their tribal chief.
Good.
By the way, Schilling makes the move to the high side with Kelly Causey trying to get up there. Grant was going to go to the bottom if they let Chuck McClure another lap down here. Grant wanted to get to the bottom in front of Jim, and Jim got to his quarter panel. So Grant trying to sit there and play, hey, will you let me in? Will you let me in? Because the only place Grant's going at this point is backward. He's in that sucker hole, so.
None of the championship contenders have led a lap yet tonight, which is
That
interesting. We
is
saw
correct.
Grant Wesley came close early on in the race. He was 3 wide for the lead, but missed out on it.
That bonus point could be very important. I mean, I'm looking at where they're running right now, and I'm not even sure if I can live scoring who would be the current points leader. Maybe Metallic. I think he's at least 5 positions ahead of Grant. I think he's at least 10 positions ahead of Donnie. So it might be the 39 right now, but there's just so many positions changing here every single
By
lap
the
because
way,
they're all in different lanes.
we got Glenn Harris and Terry Bombard. They're just going into turn 1 right now. And they're really slow. They're running about 184, 183 in the corner here compared to what the other guys are doing back there.
So they're definitely going to get caught, more than likely, this lap, I would
Oh, boy,
assume.
These
That
guys
yellow
up
car
here,
getting out of shape again.
These guys up here run 198, 95 mile an hour here in this pack. I'm getting on Tim Knopf's here running 200 right behind Bob Seminaire in the 20th position, making a little bit of ground. So that versus 184, 183. I mean, think about that speed difference when they come right up on you. It's going to scare the snot out of you if you're not paying attention.
Want to shout out everybody watching our broadcast and have said hello to us here in the chat. Milt Surratt. We'll be having the Who You Got Surratt later on here near the end of this race. Travis.
You can't really do that now, Seth, because he's got to pick the championship winner. He's got to pick a race winner, and
Always got to do
and
double
you
duty, huh?
already heard his feelings regarding the Kelly Causey event here. So come on.
Also got Travis Luther Archer and Joe DeSpirito on. Joe was involved.
Oh, Jim Gloud on the apron. Sorry.
Yeah, a little loose there. Joe was involved in the second caution, but he's still up to speed in this lead group. And Al Sullins cheering on Rodney, who's out in front, has led the last now 19 laps. Said nothing to lose. 38.
Whoa,
Get her done.
here we go.
Milt just confirmed. He said you're correct, Jess.
I was
We
just
got
wondering
pit
about.
stops.
I was just wondering about pit stops. We went back under green. What was it, lap number 19?
Well, no. Remember, the top 14 didn't pit.
And
That
I think
is
this
true,
is all
yes.
those drivers. I think that's exactly it. I think this is all those drivers that didn't pit under the last yellow.
Cabela Pit, Ron Haglund, Tom Dixon, John Forgione, Dennis McCarthy, Bob Dixon, Mark Paglia, Randy Waugh,
Michael?
Luigi.
There we
Jim
go.
Gloud, Graham McDonald, Greg Lovell, Bernie Mobbs, Denny Carroll, Ken Roberts, Rodney Sullins, and Greg Palmer all came down pit road, so they got their servicing done.
So we went back green on lap 19. There's a couple more coming down there, Heulick and John Godfrey. So we're looking at another 4 laps potentially before we would see most of the drivers from this remaining pack come down pit road as Brian
Yeah,
Schilling
because
inherits the lead.
It's going to be like we were looking at about 1 or 2 laps, maybe even 3 laps prior to when they would normally come down pit road based on how much they could have saved under the caution and behind other individuals riding like they are right now.
Chuck McClure has retired out of the race. He'll finish the finale 38th position. As leaders making their way around the drivers that just made the pit stops, getting up to speed here on the racetrack could make things a little bit interesting for those that would want to try and get to the inside line for that easier access onto pit road. Bear in mind, all 4 of our championship competitors are still in this group. They had all come to pit road under the last caution, so they may all come to pit road on the exact same lap as well.
The highest running is currently in 5th position, being Josh Metallic. Dunlop Pratt right behind him. And
Well-
Grant Wesley right behind him. So there you go, 3 of the 4.
Well, normally with Josh has this thing he likes to do if anyone's ever caught on to it. Based on pit stops, he'll either come with the pack, or if you see him go to that middle line or something like that, usually he likes to go to that middle line and try to make up some spots before he pits. So
That's true.
I don't know if he wants to ride in 5th and pit with the guys and everything else, or otherwise he wants to try to gain some spots and get that lap led before pitting. I mean, that would be a little cushion at least.
No, we don't talk a whole lot about it. We got some drivers pitting here. Dunlop Prad's coming in. Grant Wesley, Donnie Garrett. So 75% of our final 4 are in this lap, along with Jeremy Jeffries, Ulysses Sandoval, and others. So Josh Metallic going to be the last one of the final 4 to pit. And I was going to mention about the fact, we talk about the random qualifying draw when we go with the starting lineup, but one thing that we do not talk about is the fact that the random qualifying draw determines where your pit stall is going to be. Josh qualified this race 34th position, which means he has a pit stall very close to the entrance of pit lane, which makes things very difficult when you're hot pitting to get that car woed down in time to get into your pit stall. We'll have to see if that's going to be something that he's going to have to adapt to here on this
Kyle,
pit
did you tell
stop
him?
here.
Did you tell Seth about that?
I-
Here they come.
I did not yet. Haven't really had a chance, but
By the way, I lotto queued the field tonight, so.
Oh,
It's
look at
my
Knopfsker.
Oh, you
coming
lotto
down.
queued the field, eh?
It's my fault.
You didn't give us the pole?
that's what I told her. But
Man.
Hey, I told him at least you made him the top 10.
That's true. You did get us a top 10. We appreciate that. I think we
And I appreciate the spot being open in front of me so I can move forward.
So Grant Wesley leading this pack of cars coming down the straightaway. You're gonna see who can come out of the lead and come out with the lead. I mean, you got a couple. Whoa!
Oh,
Why
man.
would you
Whoa, there goes
block
Greg
a run?
Palmer.
That's gonna
Palmer's
be a
around.
wreck.
And that's going to send Greg Palmer around.
And now the caution is
Come on,
out.
Palmer, don't hit anything. Ow, he hit the back part of that car.
just
Yeah.
barely got it.
I don't know if that was Dunn just running his line and they were just trying to find a spot around him, or if Dunn came down to block.
I think
but
it was two agendas. I think Dunn had two cars pushing him had a run. And then Rodney had like 8 cars behind him had a run. And unfortunately, there was a mile-per-hour difference. And they both wanted to make the move at the same time. It's amazing we only had one car involved there.
Actually, yeah, Dunn went right by without a problem, though.
This could really jumble up the field though, right in the middle of green flag pit stops. I don't
Well,
know
you
who
gotta
was
remember,
still-
at that point when Dunn made the move on Grant to go by Grant, it was because Grant was still getting up to speed. He was in 3rd gear at that point, and Dunn had all that momentum being pushed by
no, he actually held his line because LaPrade went to the inside
Yeah,
to pass
he-
the 88.
Jeremy. That's what I was thinking about, Jeremy.
Yeah, so he
Because-
went to the inside to pass. So it was
Yeah,
just-
he had to, because if you have that much speed in 4th gear with someone pushing you, you're already up to speed, and this guy's in 3rd gear trying to get up, and he's by himself. That's going to cause a wreck no matter what. That's why he went to the inside to pass him. Otherwise, that would have been a wreck.
That's just
Probably would've had a
unfortunate
better-
timing, really.
probably had a better shot if he had gone to the outside rather than the inside.
Let's look
But
real
yeah,
quickly
like
here.
Dunn had like the 3 cars there had a run on Grant, and he just went to the inside like he was planning on the whole time. But the rest of them just had a bigger run because there were more cars.
So Grant's at 176. Dunn, with help from Jeremy Jeffries, Leslie Sandoval, is at 184. Rodney Sullins, who's got about a half dozen drivers right there behind him, is at 201. So there's just a huge speed difference there. And I think it was just the fact of 2 drivers trying to take the speed they had to make a move. And unfortunately, the timing was just off here. I'm shocked that we only had 1 driver involved here.
Was there contact between the 28, 22, or just?
I think so. I think they had to whoa up, and Mark was just not quite able to check up quite enough in time and tagged Greg from behind. We'll get another angle here, but I'm pretty
there's
sure that's what
slight
happened.
contact with Paglia's corner of his bumper onto Greg, but not that much. And that's all it takes, really, when you go into a corner. It's a slight little bit of contact. But like you said, Seth, there ain't nothing you can do with that speed difference. And we've seen in the past that BSR has been known as a bottom line track. It's more favored on the bottom than anywhere else. Now, recently, I don't know how you guys have seen it, but maybe that's one of the reasons why Dunn also went to the bottom, because he had all that speed. He figured, okay, I'll go to the bottom. He probably didn't realize how fast that other pack was closing up on him.
It's something we're going to have to bear in mind here as well. You know, obviously we've been able to have all the angles of looking at it and everything. We're not inside the race car right now, but there was some frustration with Rodney Sullins with Dunn LaPrade going back to that elimination race at the close of the round of 8 when Dunn ended up working with Josh Metallic, pushed him to the victory, which then eliminated Rodney Sullins by 1 point. And we, in the post-race interview, you could hear the frustration there out of Rodney Sullins. I don't think he's going to be all that thrilled with that little checkup there with the move by Dunn LaPrade. Again, granted, we're able to look at it here from the spectator point of view, but when you're inside the cockpit of that race car and you see the 74 coming down and blocking that huge run you had, it might be something to follow up on here later stages of this race.
Kind of makes me glad I'm not down there right now.
Love to be a fly on the wall of the 38 pit box.
Yeah, I bet you would.
Rodney's generally really calm and cool and collected though during the races, and when he gets wronged or something happens that he feels that even though it was a mistake or not really intended or anything else, Rodney's usually pretty calm and cool collected about discussing it about what happened and whatnot. Even though he might be frustrated with the result or whatnot and stuff, he's usually pretty good about letting it go and continuing on.
So, caution's out. These drivers just completed a cycle of pit stops. Number of drivers just came back down pit road.
Yeah.
Is this because they were those drivers that were off sequence, so they're trying to get back on sequence with everybody else? Okay.
Yes.
Because I was gonna say this can't be a play to as far as like the final pit stop. I wouldn't think.
No, I mean, if you saw what happened to some of these guys that pit, and then if you outside the other guys pit, there's a lot of time that was lost and gained on either side. And you gotta think about, hey, we're lap 40 now, right? Think about where we would normally be at on a normal stop, about lap 40, lap 41. So now this closes it to the point of trying to put them back on sequence to where they would normally be at anyway. Because it's like, what, 19-20 laps?
Yeah.
19-20 laps, it's about right there, 38-40. So this gives them that feel, okay, well, this caution pretty much put them back in the correct mindset of where they would normally be at. And not only that, they're with everybody else. Kind of like it's a fair game now.
Yeah, they might have potentially, if we had continued to run green to the end, they might have had to take on a can and a half of fuel. Now they'd only have to take on a can of fuel with the rest of the other drivers that pitted late in that cycle. This caution going to be a saving grace for both Glenn Harris and Terry Bombard, who lost a lap each under that green flag run. They'll get back on the lead lap. That'll put all 37 drivers that are running back on the same lap as leader Tim Nofsker. I'm going to double check here. I believe that Grant, yes, so when Grant got the race lead there after the cycle of pit stops, he led 2 laps. So he is now the only one of the championship 4 that has that bonus point for a lap led. Could be important here when everything's calculated at the end of the night.
Did you just say that was Wesley?
Correct.
Who was the waiver on that run, I mean?
Harris and Bombard.
Okay.
Which I believe lights should go out this time. They'll be able to get those
Dunn
laps
came
back.
back in. Dunn came back into pit. Along with Paglia, the 95, the 33. Crivello is on pit road again as well. And McCarthy's now just catching up to the field. Hey, so I gotta bring this up since we're about to go back to green here, and I haven't really been part of this. Kyle, this is your first full season of doing this with Seth and all. What's your take on it so far this whole season based on what you've seen?
User in your channel timed
Kyle
out.
Oh, there he goes.
Technical difficulty.
You asked him the wrong question.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I guess we have our answer.
All right, so I've told people in the past not to rely on my mathematics because 99% of the time it's usually wrong. But based off of where we are lined up here for this
User was
restart, if
moved
I
to
have
your
this
channel.
correct, also putting in the bonus point for Grant Wesley having led 2 laps, we currently have a tie for the live point standings lead between Wesley and Garrett. Metallic sitting a meager 3 points back with where they're positioned for this upcoming restart.
I do want to ask, Kyle, was it really that bad?
This is not the night to have connection issues. Come on.
Did
He
you
needed
even hear
extra
the
time to
question?
think about the answer. That's what that was. That was a ploy
Exactly.
for that.
Now, with that being said, we've seen Grant up there. Are these guys going to more likely just try to survive and then push the issue and push the envelope at the end? Or is it like, hey, that guy just led a couple of us. We got to start going up there. It doesn't matter if we need to relax now. We got to go. What do you think, Seth?
I feel like you're still in go mode. I feel like if you're trying to
mode?
play defensive right now, you could find yourself running into trouble. I think it's all go still for especially these 3 up here that are going to restart inside of the top 10. Josh going to restart 4th, Grant 7th, and Donnie Garrett, well, they've got him scored in 11th place right now. Yep, on the inside of row 6, so he's just outside of the top 10. As Nofsker The outgoing champion won the season opener to lock himself into the playoffs, got eliminated after the conclusion of the round of 8, looking for a bookend season, if you will, win the first race and the last race of season 64.
Boy, that inside line, there were a
Did
lot of
not
people.
go.
No, it didn't, and there were a lot of cars switching lanes, like right as they took right after they took the green flag right there, and I think that hurt them as well.
I was looking to see if maybe somebody, kind of a la Chuck McClure last week, maybe somebody's down a gear? Or maybe someone missed a shift on that inside line, not sure. Car I'd be wondering about would be the 712 of Bob Seminara. He looked like he was the 1/3 on that inside line that was slow on the restart.
Bob just told me over whisper he has no third gear.
There it is. Okay.
Oh boy, yep, that's gonna be difficult on a restart.
Also, I'm just waiting to see what this is going to be. What Ulysses is making it 4 wide right here. I don't know if that was a good idea at that point.
McMahon Gilardi back in that 4-wide
Yeah,
situation.
camera guy. Gosh, get back to where the action is.
Back down to 3. Take a look who's up battling now while he just cleared for 3rd place. Craig Hagley. Last time we saw him up at the front, he got spun off the nose of the 56. Good comeback there for that Harry Gant throwback.
Hi, flashback from, yeah.
Too soon? Sorry.
Oh yeah, too soon. Very too soon. Anyway, Kyle.
Yeah,
I asked a question earlier, and
I probably didn't hear it, but because of my connection. But what was it?
because you have selective hearing, and you know what? I guess I wasn't selected, now was I?
That's not what my
Did you catch that, Seth?
I did.
It's not what my internet wanted me to
Anyway,
hear, apparently.
well, what I was going to ask you, Kyle, is this is your first season seeing this whole thing and broadcasting it the way these guys have raced and the competition level, the where it's at, 3 wide, several rows deep constantly and whatnot. How's it been for you this whole season after what's all going on?
I've been enjoying it. Been having a lot of fun. These races have been a lot of fun to call and a lot of excitement too. So glad I started doing this.
Did you hear that, Seth? He's a mainstay.
I know.
You're not getting rid of him now.
There's gonna be a point where I'm gonna have to try to force him into the booth. He's gonna want to get behind the wheel of one of these cars and race with these guys.
Well, I do love these Aero 88 cars. Don't think I've ever ran any. I think the oldest I ran is the Cup 90 mod, but.
Yeah, you were in the Cup 90 a couple of times, especially the Talladega race that we had. That wasn't really a broadcaster race. That was when Seth visited Narnia for the first time, and I ran the Reese's car.
Yep.
I ran the 94 Reese's, I believe, that race.
I was the game back then that was huge was called The Evil Within, and that's what I drove for a sponsored car.
Definitely got Evil Within on that one.
Oh, I
you?
definitely did. The Evil Within the catch fence.
Remember a fun race that we did running the Cup 90 mod. I think it was the first time I ever ran those cars.
That's what it was. Basically, it was the first Talladega, but it wasn't broadcast, so we technically just had a fun Talladega race. That's all it was.
Unfortunately, this is the swan song for the Aero 88 cars here on Thursday nights, as next season they'll be moving over to the NXS 20 machines for season 65. But
looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious. I'm going to be honest with you. I've raced only maybe I can count on one hand the amount of races that I've run that have involved that particular mod, and none of those races have been at a super speedway. I'm going to be really interested to see, because we talked when these Aero 88 cars were moved to Thursday nights about the hit boxes and their capabilities of drafting and pushing. I'm going to be very curious to see how those Xfinity cars do in terms of super speedway style racing.
Yeah, you remember that when we moved over to that? I mean, I don't mean any disrespect, because I was also part of it too. But we had a lot of issues with, like, not just the hitboxes, but how aggressive we all were. Remember that?
Well, even a lot of drivers remarked on the fact, like, even like the first half of the new season, they were like in a period of adaptation, trying to just go to school and figure out what these cars could do.
Demar almost got turned.
Josh Vitalik looking for the race lead here, and we have another championship contender. We haven't seen up front yet here. Donnie Garrett leading that outside line.
Both these drivers not only trying to get the lead, but cancel out that bonus point of Grant Wesley, who's the only one of the Final Four to get a bonus point for a lap led. Metallic, I think should get the bonus point here, but the momentum is up there with Donnie Garrett, who's looking to close out a championship season with 2 wins in a row, 3 wins overall.
Now, we saw Josh Metallic go back-to-back a couple of weeks ago.
We did.
It
In a
can be
must-win
done.
situation in
Yes,
that second of
absolutely.
those 2 wins.
By the way, Dylan LaPraz back here in about 30th position at this point, trying to make some headway on this top lane.
Grant's also up here in the top 10, 5th on that inside line, so still at this point in time a 3-horse race for the championship. Really, really close. And something that I have to kind of bring to not only everybody else's attention, but mine as well, because I did not factor this into last week when I kind of gave what I thought the point standings would look like. 5 bonus points are given out to the winner of the race. So Donnie Garrett had more of a points lead heading into this one than I had originally calculated, because I didn't put those 5 bonus points in place. So that's something we have to kind of figure out as well if one of our final 4 contenders do win here tonight.
Hadley and McCarskey going for the same spot off the turn 2. That could have been really disastrous. These guys are starting to move around a lot more now, if you notice that stuff. I'm not sure how it is at the front, but this mid-pack where Dunn is running around at about 29th, 28th position, they're moving around quite a bit now. You reckon the mentality is sitting in here?
Oh, yeah.
Look, we got like 50, we're going to lap 50, Seth. We're going like 17 laps to go.
We still got 1 more pit stop to make here. That's going to be somewhere between laps 57, I'd say, to 59.
Kelly Causey now the race leader. There's somebody that's been close a couple of times at winning. You mentioned a couple of times that race at Talladega. He was leading with 2 laps to go, but had to pit.
5 miles away from a victory.
Then he was leading on the last lap when here a couple of weeks ago when Josh Metallic got around him.
We're looking about 10-ish laps from what I just got told.
10 laps, so we're gonna make it around to 60. Okay.
Maybe about 8 to 10, maybe 9 to 10 to 11.
But the question
I'm
is,
just
does
getting about a
somebody pit
median
early?
of 10 is what I'm getting. What I just got told.
So that would put us about 6 laps away from the finish. So I don't know if that puts you borderline being able to take half a can. If you're having to take a can of fuel, do you think we'll see drivers pit with about 10 to go then, right when that window would open?
I honestly feel like some people will gamble and take half a can if they can.
Okay.
Because if you look at, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone, but some of these cars are kind of slow, right? They're mixed in with these guys. That gives you a better chance to save throughout the straightaways and corners when you suck up to someone. And at the same time, Seth, half a can, yeah, you're going to be a little bit short, maybe a lap short, but remember, you never know that caution could come right out and save you the rest of the way.
Great point.
But let's recommend something. Someone's had a really good run today who's actually run most of this race and doing pretty decently based on a lot of bad luck. The 45 machine, Tom Dixon's still right here with this pack.
Yes, he is. Last time by, scored in the 21st position. There's the Batmobile. Side by side with Brian Schilling. This would be unofficially 19th place.
I mean, he's having a good run being up here the way he is. I mean, normally he has a point where, you know, things happen in real life and he's got to leave and not be able to stick around. And sticking around right now, ain't he, Seth?
Running right behind his brother. I don't know. Is Bob big brother, little brother? I don't know where they are.
I don't know how they correlate that one.
I don't know where they are in terms of who's the oldest, who's the youngest.
We'll just call them the Dixons.
You're not whistling Dixon. Calm down.
The Mason-Dixon line?
Yes.
Whistling Dixie, brother.
We need Ralph Mason to come back, team up with the Dixons, and then the team can be called the Mason-Dixons.
No, let's not.
Whoa, bumper grab. Ulysses and Denny Carroll were right there on that high side. Did you catch that?
I did, and there was almost bumper grab with Ulysses and Greg Lovell behind him as well. That was a very tight draft off the turn 2. And you see them split up there now down the back straightaway.
Who are you, the Iron Sheik?
We got Schilling and who's in front of Schilling here?
Mangialardi, I believe.
A 29 car.
They're starting to make a little bit of headway on that high side, trying to grab the draft of Greg Lovell.
You know how everyone's given nicknames, right?
Yep.
You got Mike Mangialardi. Why not call him Mike Mandalorian?
he'd
This
have
he's
to.
going to copyright stuff and own his channel and keep on.
The thing is, though, Michael, we've seen him go over 88 miles per
Yeah,
hour every
it was-
Thursday night, and he's still here. So
I said Mandalorian. I didn't say. I'm not making a reference to Back to the Future.
oh, you're making the Star Wars reference?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does he look anything like Pedro Pascal?
It doesn't matter.
No,
It's still
probably
his last,
not,
All
but-
about his last name.
About to say, if he was in the
Look,
DeLorean, it would
it's
just
all about the
disappear.
name and how you
No,
say
You
it.
know what happened.
What Michael's getting at is he's sponsored by Napa, which is parts, and basically if you look at Boba Fett's head and any freaking bounty hunter's head, basically the helmets look like they're made of random parts and welded together. There you go.
That, okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go with that narrative. I like that.
Joe Despirito up here can't make any headway. I mean, that bottom is becoming overpowered. They're getting ready to pit anytime soon, so.
We're closing
look
in
who's
on
leading
10
the,
laps to go here.
Look who's leading that bottom line right there. Donnie Garrett with Josh Metallic right behind him.
And now they all go to the inside.
Yep, so there you go. On the eve of pit stops, going down there to
eve
the
of
yellow
pit
line,
stops.
have that
You got some
easier.
people lighting it up. Josh is going to go to the high side. He's going to stay out.
This could be a strategy call.
Before we get to those pit stops, would be remiss if we didn't congratulate the other champions of the weekly series here in Rolling Thunder Gaming. Sean Prime took the championship, as we got Randy Waugh coming down pit road
Luigi.
there with some others. He won the championship
What?
on the Monday Night Barebones Racing Series. Colin Flick won the Challenger Championship, first of his career.
Did we really say a half a can?
Seth can't math. Remember that.
Well, I
Because
said there was
I
a
just
chance we
thought
could go
about
half a
it,
can
yeah.
if we got to lap 60. But these drivers might feel that they can only do a can of fuel, so the window's open to do just that. But Jeff Supta, he won the Lightning Truck Series on Wednesday night. Cy Jones, by 1 point over Bobby Farrell, got the Challenger Championship in that series. And of course, tomorrow night we're going to determine the champion for the Amish's Survivor Series. That's a close one. Keith Hughes, 6 points over Adam Radeisky, as Ulysses a little loose there on braking.
Hello, Joe Despirito. Despirito really hard on the brakes on that one.
Yeah, a lot of them, really. These cars, I don't know what it is tonight, but these cars have looked a lot looser than they have in the past. Grant's in with Tim Nofsker.
2 championship contenders in that round.
Dunn's still out.
So is Metallic.
Yep, so Garrett and Wesley making their final pit stops.
Metallic is stuck on the outside lane.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the leader, and he's that really he tried to do something, he couldn't do nothing. But
Oh, he was able to cut right down through. And now he and LaPrade are coming in this time. So 2 of our final 4, the lap prior, the other 2 this time by. How does this cycle? And you cannot get hit with a speeding penalty. That just throws your championship away here this late in the race.
And we've
Where you
seen
gonna
that
be at,
happen
Seth? You gonna be
so
up
many
front?
times.
Hey,
I got the 88.
once again, Grant Wesley with an outstanding pit stop comes in like 3rd or 4th and is out with the lead of that pack.
Now remember, he and Donnie Garrett both, I believe, let me double check on the 77. I think he has not led a lap, and Grant would
Josh,
get
come
5
out.
bonus points if he's to win this race, so he would be up, I believe, up 7 points ahead of Donnie Garrett, which would put him 2 points ahead for the championship, as
On
things
the
currently
track.
run right now.
Boy, this is looking a lot like last week's race, seeing how intense
Josh coming off the 2.
seeing how intense Wesley and Garrett were racing each other late in the going. We could very well see the same thing happen here if these 2 are, up front again.
Josh couldn't stop that momentum. He's
Hey,
going to
look,
drift back
it's the
to...
it's the 880, 88, and 088.
There you go. The weekly.
They always seem to find
But this
themselves-
time they're on the lead lap, unlike last week.
And Josh is going to look at the high side and get himself in that lane real quickly. Going to go around Rodney here.
Right now, Grant would have the
Ulysses up here,
championship
too.
over Donnie Garrett.
Yeah,
Metallic.
Ulysses nearly wrecked coming to pit road, held on to it. Now he's going to be in the lead draft here.
Right now, with where the 88 and the 77 are up here inside of the top 5, potentially top 10, Josh Metallic's in a must-win situation once again. He's going to need those 5 bonus points to be able to get by both of them.
And they're playing pick your lane at this point because of the lap car that they're coming up on and some of the cars coming out pit road. Seth, what will be the cutoff line? 62, 63?
We've got lap cars, so yeah, lap 62's completion.
Whoa, Donnie.
He really is just trying to find himself a lane.
Well, Donnie Garrett.
Rodney's
Oh,
coming
Rodney's
back
coming
in.
back in. Black
Says the
flag for
28.
the 38. Mark Paglia. Both hit
Momentum
with
with the
speeding
high
penalties.
side. High side's got momentum, Seth.
Well, Donnie, last week when we talked in Victory Lane, he sung the praises of Ulysses Sandoval and how he's come along as a really good pusher, relying on the 96 to get him to the front here. Grant's going to shade both lanes. Might not want to do that.
Wow.
You might get caught out 3 wide.
Boy, I thought that was going to hurt him right there, but he was able to make it work.
I
Gets
do
him
want
right
to
in front
point
of
out that,
Garrett.
Ulysses has said quite a bit, second place is good run for him, but I mean, he wants a little more.
Oh, yeah.
So the question
Oh,
is,
absolutely.
will he be committed to pushing Donnie all the way, or would he say, hey, I have a shot, I'm going for it?
Runner up 3
There he goes.
times.
And
Looks
so did
low.
Donnie. Josh, what you gonna do, Josh? Where you going, Josh?
He's
Josh
got no
gonna
help on
stay.
the bottom, though. He needs an
Whoa.
officer to get to him.
Oh,
Up.
my God.
Oh, there they go!
wreck.
Metallic.
Metallic.
We
This is gonna
might
be it right here.
get a 1-lap shootout. This is coming at the
That right
completion of
there.
60.
That right there was in the reaction based on what Ulysses did and Josh making a split-second decision to go to the bottom, which checked up Tim or Tim made a decision along with Josh. That one was really, really crazy, Seth.
We're still racing back. That caution didn't come out until after
Oh, here
the
goes
leaders
Donnie.
across the start-finish line.
Well,
Yeah,
where's
Donnie
that,
with a
Donnie?
run.
He's got momentum here. He's got Ulysses pushing him.
I
Grant
don't
mirror
think he-
driving
Fake him,
here.
fake him.
Oh, little
Oh,
bumper grab
bumper grab.
there.
Stay with him.
They'll come back to the caution. Grant
Some of-
over Donnie over Ulysses. I think we're getting a 1-lap shootout here, guys.
Oh boy, a one-lap
it's
shootout
gonna
to
be
decide the championship.
it's gonna be very close, and yes, it is. And look at the Dunn's up here as well.
Where's
Yeah, he got
Josh?
through that.
Josh was
was in the
involved
wreck.
in it. Josh was in the wreck.
There he is.
There he is.
That back end's all freaking torn up.
Man, tough break there for Metallic. Won his way into the final 4 in the first race of the round of 8. Was up there in the conversation for this one. Looks like Kelly Causey, Ken Roberts collected up in this one. It'll be a break for Rodney Sullins and Mark Paglia. They'll have 1 lap to try and improve what would have been a 31st and 32nd place finish for them after having to serve the black flag penalty.
So here's a situation for you, Seth, to think about. So the 77 is going to be on the more than likely the outside.
Right.
Say he gets a better restart than the 88 and actually comes across the line as the leader. That gives him that lap lead with those bonus points.
True.
So what would the standings look like even then if they were to finish 1-2, even with Grant winning?
If they were to finish 1-2, I think Grant would get it still by 1 point.
By 1 point.
One
Okay,
point.
so no matter what, at this point, even if he gets a bonus point, Donnie has to win the race.
Correct, because Grant would get the 5 bonus points for winning. The lap lead each would cancel out. So that's the 5 points that Grant's behind, and then you go to first place, 1 position ahead of second place. That'd be the one deciding point right there.
Hey, Seth, are you looking at the rip yet, or no?
Yep.
Did you ride on board with Knopfler?
I did not. We're still looking at some angles of the hip there for Metallic.
That's where it
Yeah,
started.
if you go back right before it happened, and right with Knopfler, on like Far Chase or whatever, or Top View, however you want to do it, you'll see that Tim tried to go to the bottom just to give Josh the room to do it, but there's not enough room when you're going that fast, that many laps left, trying to make up all them spots, and you got like 2 or 3 or 4 cars right behind you. You're trying to back off so you don't wreck one of the championship contenders. You got nothing to do. You can't help what happens. You know?
And he was getting
There was
shoved by
contact.
Brian Schilling, who was
Yes.
getting shoved by Greg Lovell.
I was just about to say, yeah, there was contact between Schilling and Nofsker right there.
So we
That's
had at
really
least- So we had at least 3 more flips in this wreck.
Yeah, Kyle, what are we up to for the counter? 088 went over. I know the 33 also went over.
I've lost count of the connection issues I've been having tonight. I completely forgot about that.
Well, I want to take this point before we get too crazy and all to let you thank me for letting me be part of this every single time I end up getting wrecked or something doesn't go right. You let me come up here
No,
to at least do
absolutely. I mean,
something. I appreciate
I
it.
love it too because we end up getting the opportunity. You've been out there. You've been able
12
to-
laps.
well,
12
still,
freaking
you've been
laps,
able to
okay?
feel the energy. You've got the driver mentality that you're able to bring to the table as well. So that's something that we're not able
But
to
is she sitting at the
necessarily.
head of the table?
I mean, we're getting a true analyst here.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I mean, we can only speculate when we're up here observing what's going out there on the racetrack. We're getting
if you're-
first-hand account of what's.
I'll give you an insight right now. Grant hates Donnie. Donnie hates Grant. They both don't like each other. They're both mad, and they know they're going to lose the Daytona 500 because Cale Yarborough and Donnie are still fighting. Wait,
Who?
what? Well,
So-
what happened?
So on this restart, if you're Grant Wesley, right now Ulysses is your best friend.
well,
much.
I mean, but we've seen Ulysses and Donnie work well together. So if they can get lined up on
Yeah,
this
but
last lap.
how? How do you
Because-
get from the inside line up to that outside line with how they're going to be congested up on this restart?
They
What-
have to
what
have
Grant
one good
needs-
restart to start off with this with Donnie, and then at that point with that restart, if there's a gap between Greg and Donnie, I'm sure Ulysses is going to go up and go for it because if you've seen in the past, and I don't mean no harm by saying this, sometimes when this happens, we always see that Bomb get a good run, but if you get up a jump and that second place guy, which is Greg, doesn't get a good run, that'll open up that hole, and the momentum will be with Ulysses being as close as he is to Donnie versus who's behind Ulysses trying to make it up to Grant.
And
this-
who's to
Go ahead.
who's to say that Ulysses won't? If he has an opportunity, who's to say that Ulysses ain't gonna make it 3 wide and try to go for the win himself?
That is true. I'm going to go on record here, too, and this might be controversial, but we're bringing the close of this season down to one lap with the championship in the balance. We know that Grant's very good with defensive driving. We know Donnie's very good with defensive driving. If either one of these guys are able to get clear out in front, you know they're going to throw the haymaker block to keep the other one behind to try and win this title. And we've seen in the past when there ends up being late shootouts, drivers that cause incidents to close out a race, sometimes will get hit with post-race penalties.
Oh my gosh.
With what's on the line here, I'm hoping that if it's not something super egregious, that
Wow.
either of these drivers are not going to get hit with a post-race.
So-
'Cause, I mean,
so
come
you're-
on. It's
so
the
you're
final
just-
lap of the season.
Kyle.
So you're saying Dunn LaPrade might be in the catbird seat?
He could. He very well could. You never know.
Kyle, I do want to point out one thing that you were not a part of. No offense, you weren't here for it, and Seth and I were. All-Star, 3 or 4 freaking wrecks
Yeah.
right there. Turn 1 they wrecked, backstretch they wrecked, turn 3 they wrecked, turn 4 they wrecked, and tri-oval they wrecked. Godfrey ends up winning it. Remember that?
I do remember that. That was I didn't even know where to
Anything can
focus the
happen.
camera on that final lap.
Anything can happen. I mean, if Josh is out there and Josh is somehow there, I mean, I don't know if he's got more points than Dunn does right now.
He
so.
does. Well, he did. But now with where he's back behind Dunn, Dunn would currently be unofficially in 3rd position in the final 4 standings.
I think even if Dunn won this race, he still wouldn't win the title.
No, he needs Grant and Donnie to run into problems. For Dunn LaPrade to be able to win this thing now, he needs for Donnie and Grant to finish outside of the top 20, which is still possible with now Terry and Glenn getting their laps back again. There's 35 drivers on the lead lap, so it's not impossible, it's improbable, but the mathematics are still there.
A 1-lap shootout to determine the championship.
Can you
Is
hold
Bob-
your breath for
Championship-
2.66
Bob's
miles?
giving
We
up-
have-
hey, look, Bob's giving up his spot because of no 3rd gear.
And we have 2 championship contenders on the front row on this restart. Okay, I mean, can't script this thing.
Nope. Grant's looking for his 4th championship. Was on that streak of
Grant
3
is hoping
championships
that
in the span of 4 seasons. Donnie is looking for his first. He's mentioned last week that he doesn't normally run full time here. And this was one of the rare occasions where he did run full time. He was able to be consistent, found victory lane during the regular season to lock him into the playoffs, won his way into this situation now back in the first race of this Final Four last week and looking to close it out.
And I do want to point out one little thing. Look who's running right there in fifth.
Yep, Brian Schilling. A lot of X factors behind these drivers. Greg Lovell's going to be the pusher for Donnie Garrett. Ulysses Sandoval, the pusher for Grant Wesley. Their fate may not be in their own hands here on this restart, as we are going to race back to the checkers no matter what. One lap shootout to decide the race, maybe the championship here in the Talladega Challenge Series.
Quick question. Who you got?
Don't ask me that. You can't ask me that one.
Whoa, inside did not get going.
Ooh, the 88 didn't get as good of a restart.
Donnie's going to stay alongside.
95 didn't get a good restart.
Grant's not going to be clear. Donnie's still there.
Outside lane's going to get the momentum, and he knows that he's got a pinch.
Push is going to come to shove now.
Jeremy on the back of Schilling.
Oh, look at this. No, the momentum's not with the outside.
Because they only have 3 cars up there, because Schilling got a huge shot from Jeremy, who went to the bottom.
Grant's clear.
Ulysses shot.
Whoa, Donnie, don't pinch. You're going to get wrecked like that. Just chill.
Off of 4.
Godfrey at the top with Dunn.
LaPrade to the outside.
Last-ditch effort there.
I think Wesley's got it.
He does indeed here. Ulysses trying to make a move for the win. Not quite going to be able to get it. And Grant's going to win the finale at his 4th championship here in the Talladega Challenge Series.
And with that, guys, thank you for letting me be here. Now I'm going to move aside and let you guys do your thing.
Absolutely. Appreciate you joining us here. Unfortunate circumstances brought you here. Add to the flip counter.
Yeah.
Hey, look, the mellow yellow card flip this time. Caution's out. Not that it matters.
So anyway, I will see you guys probably sometime tomorrow night, maybe, and I don't know, Seth. I don't know about the Fortnite thing. I think you're going to be doing Fortnite before you broadcast, so you may be really busy prior to any of that. So if you are, have fun and enjoy yourself.
All right, appreciate you joining us here tonight, Jess.
All right, see you guys tonight, and Seth. Hopefully, I'll see you. If I don't, have fun.
Sounds good.
Imagine Seth playing
User
Fortnite.
disconnected
What a
from your
loser.
channel.
If losers play Fortnite, then yes, I am a loser. Oh, we almost had that one driver.
The one driver to wreck the champion.
That's right. Well, to wreck the race winner. There's always that one driver gives just that little too much of a shove. But you go back to last season. I talked about it at the close of season 63, the start of season 64. I said, look out for Grant, because last year didn't make it into the playoffs, work-related issues took him out of racing 3-4 straight weeks. He closed out season 63 with a couple of victories, was one of the most consistent drivers down that home stretch, and I just had a feeling we were going to see him carry that momentum here into season 64. Nothing super flashy, only one win during the course of the regular season, but consistent here in the playoffs, and gets the second win when it matters the most, takes the championship and the finale win here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway in one nice little handy package. And this may set the record for longest burnout in RTG history, because I think he's going to use up all the tires, all the fuel in that race car here in celebration.
I don't know how that engine is still running.
What was the... Oh, shoot. Was it the Hickey Shuffle? What was the dance Darrell Waltrip did in Victory Lane?
I think it was the Icky Shuffle.
The Icky Shuffle. Do
You
you
were
think Grant
close.
would...
You just added an extra letter.
Do you think Grant would do an Icky Shuffle?
I don't know. Why don't you ask him? When
I will.
I believe that was a running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, Icky Woods, that would do that after scoring a touchdown, and that's where Darrell Waltrip picked it up.
You guys like numbers?
No.
Yes.
Grant Wesley, driving the number 88, started this race in 8th. Guess how many laps he led? 8.
8.
Crazy
Good
8s
Lord.
here tonight. Well, Grant came into this one 5 points out of the championship. needed to win here with where Donnie Garrett was running second on that restart. He'll get the victory. Garrett will bring it home in fourth. Dunn LaPrade, the long shot of the Final Four, will finish in seventh. And Metallic, who was caught up in the caution that led to the one-lap shootout, is going to finish way down in the results in 31st. Certainly not indicative of how good a car he had here tonight. He was up in the top 5 when he was involved in that incident. Ulysses Sandoval going to get his 4th runner-up finish on the season, as he will complete the podium with Brian Schilling. Great way for Schilling to close out the year after the playoffs were not kind to him. Solid regular season, though. Greg Lovell will net a top 5 in 5th. Jeremy Jeffries 6th. Greg Palmer going to finish in the 8th position. Good comeback for him after he had that spin out with the checkup after the green flag pit stop cycle. John Godfrey started on the pole, finishes top 10 in 9th. And his first start of the season in the finale, John Forgione, good run there for Diesel as he'll bring it home inside of the top 10. Hopefully, I'm going to double check, hopefully we do not have an early exit for Brian Schilling here, who brings it home on the podium. Well, we're going to be talking with him post-race anyway, so that actually works out. We will get to talk with him not only about his podium finish tonight, but also winning the Bracket Challenge Championship as we head into our FRN post-race wind-down. And we'll now head down trackside and dial up tonight's top finishers, eventually as well our Season 64 champion. Let's begin things with Brian Schilling, driver of that number 4 machine.
User was moved to your
Hey,
channel.
Brian, it's Michael Kyle. Set up here in the FRN booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, what's going on?
All right, first things first, we'll talk about your podium finish in a minute, but we were going to try and grab you last week. You exited before we had a chance to be able to. Congratulations on being the Season 64 Bracket Challenge champion. You were able to lock that championship up 1 week early last week at Talladega Superspeedway. Consistent during the regular season, little bumpy in the playoffs here, but got the finishes necessary to lock up a championship nonetheless on the bracket side. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been nice to get back to form on that. The bracket series. For a while there, it seemed like I was in the finals every time and had a few rough seasons, but yeah, felt good to at least lock that one up.
So you ended up winning the winner's side of the bracket. You had to wait about, 5-6 weeks to find out who your opponent is going to be. Is there intrigue? Is there a little frustration and really wanting to know who that person's going to be? What's it like there when you have to wait out and see who you're going to face off in, if not the final race, maybe the final 2 races?
More intrigue than anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are guys that I really don't want to go up against. No disrespect to anybody that I come up against, but Mike had an amazing season this year too. It's a shame he had some bad luck towards the end there. I think a couple of races there, but yeah, it's just it's fun. It's a real fun series within a series.
We talked about the fact you had all those top 5s during the regular season. You close it out with a podium finish here tonight. In that conversation for another race victory to close out Season 64, but you had a couple of championship contenders right there in front of you as well. How nerve-wracking is that to kind of balance the aggressive nature of wanting to win, but at the same time knowing that you're potentially an X factor in who's going to get the championship trophy as well?
Oh yeah, it's a little stressful. You don't want to. I don't like being that guy, affecting a championship. For the wrong reasons. Giving somebody good hard push. Good drafting. That I'm okay with, but yeah, causing a huge pile up, not. So yeah, it's a balance, but I'm glad. I was glad I was able to push Grant there at the end and get him another championship.
Well, a driver who had to pass a lot of race cars here tonight, started outside of the top 20. I believe he started 31st there, rolling off of the grid. Great job working your way patiently up through the field, executing on pit road, and closing out the season with a solid 3rd place finish. Brian, before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Well, as always, thank you to the admins here in ownership. On Thursday nights, Josh, Tim, Rodney do an excellent job. It is just so tough to is somebody that used to help admin. There's just so many things that they do that basically go unnoticed, and just all the hard work, time. Thank you to Jeremy for doing the points so quickly. Thank you to the sponsorships, you guys. Big congratulations to Grant. Yeah, me and Grant always draft well together. He's a friend on and off the track. Just I'm so excited to see him win it. So, and like I said, thank you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast. I definitely will be going back to watch it tomorrow.
Absolutely. It was a great one to call. Congratulations on closing out the season on a high note here. Brian, congratulations once again on getting that that bracket challenge championship. And best of luck here in the upcoming 65th season as we get ready to do a little mod swap over to those Xfinity cars.
Yes, thank you, and happy Easter all.
Absolutely. That's Brian Schilling. He finishes in the third position here tonight. And before we get our second place finisher, just want to echo one of the things that Brian said. Big shout out to Jeremy Jeffries getting those point standings in rapid time. I mean, no sooner does the checkered flag fly, we have those point standings available for you, whether it's getting you prepared for the playoffs, getting you prepared for the next round of the playoffs. We have that information readily available due to the hard work of Jeremy Jeffries. So a big shout out to him and a big thanks from us here at FRN, making our lives a little bit easier to get you guys set up for the following week. Let's now see if we can dial up our second place finisher here tonight. Let's get a hold of Ulysses Sandoval.
User was moved to your
Ulysses,
channel.
Michael, Kyle, Seth up here in the FRN booth. Got a copy?
Hey.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, fourth runner-up finish here this season. I know I sound like a broken record, but just keep feeling that you're going to be getting it at one point here. You got a brand new season coming up in season 65. Some great momentum to close out the season, though, but I want to go inside the mind of the driver because you're lined up there on the inside line. In front of you on that front row, two drivers battling it out for the title. We saw you committed to trying to help the 77 before that caution came out. What was the mentality on that restart? Was it just shove the car in front of you? Were you trying some way to hook back up with the 77? Or were you saying, hey, I'm up here at the front. I got a shot at snapping these runner-up finishes. I want to get that P1 here to close out the season.
Yeah, on the closing laps, well, I remember what Michael said, to go for the move. So I make a risky move that wasn't gonna work before that last wreck, and then on that restart, my ears were open I was listening if Michael was saying something to do a move, but I didn't hear anything.
Michael, you didn't spot from this time. What the heck?
Well, I mean, there's not a lot you can do in a one-lap shootout besides push the car in front of you out to a good distance to where you can make a run. But, that's the one thing that sucks about one-lap shootouts.
I want to go back to that final green flag pit stop that you had. You looked awfully loose coming, entering pit road. It looked like you were about to wreck a couple of times. How were you able to keep that thing together and then, make a good pit stop and put yourself in the lead draft?
Was that something taught to you by Josh?
Oh yeah, that's the Josh Mercurio's technique, the good old hot beat. Yeah, I entered and the car was sideways all over the place, and also got tapped from behind. I can't even explain how I saved it, but I did save it. So I'm just glad that I survived that one. It wasn't unlike last Saturday that I did a normal pit and ended up spinning myself. This time it did work. That final run, and then after that it was all about. I was gonna help the 77 just like I did last time because he gave me good luck. I was pretty lucky last time pushing the 77 because he got me a top two. So I assumed that if I push him again, it was gonna work out. But then I thought about what Michael said that if I had a chance to make a move, why wouldn't do the move? So I did. So I did a move, and well, it didn't quite work. Then the main focus was again for the few cars that were left from that mess. It was just push the 77, but it didn't work. So, and on the last on the one lap shootout, it was just pushing the 88, hoping that we get clear. I get clear to make a move, but it was too late. I guess finishing second sums up what I've done the rest of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the statistics. I mean, this was your first berth in the playoffs. You're going to finish fifth in overall standings. Just looking right now at the unofficial statistics, we haven't got the updated one from this race yet on the standings, but it looks like 5 top 5s, 10 top 10s. Incredible season for you here. Certainly something to build off of for next season. Obviously the consistency was there to get you into the playoffs, advance you up there into the round of 8, almost got you into that Final Four as well. Do we keep the same mentality heading into season 65? We're, of course, moving to a new mod now, so there'll be a little period of adaptation from the Aero 88 historic cars now to the Xfinity cars, or does this give you an added confidence now to go out there, beginning of the season, be aggressive and try and get that first checkered flag of the season, lock yourself up a playoff spot with what you've been able to do here, especially down the home stretch of season 64?
Well, I had good runs on other mods. The Cup 19 mod, the Trucks mod. I raced plenty of different mods on a plate race. So I think I'm confident going into the next mod. But I definitely gonna miss the Aero 88 mod. Because Thursday night with the Aero 88 mod it's something you think about every time you think about Rolling Thunder and the Tally Challenge, the 888 cars, the good old tough 888 cars. But yeah, I'm also confident going into the next season of what's gonna happen. I'm gonna follow my friend's advice of racing in 100% steering assistance. Yeah, the mentality is going for it just like last time.
Now, I have to ask because for people that don't know, in TeamSpeak, people are able to change their names to custom things. There was a point where, I think it was a couple of seasons ago, Ulysses was involved in a horrific crash, and he was then known as Ulysses No Leg Sandoval. Before we moved you up, I saw you change your name to Ulysses Johnny Bravo Sandoval. So what's the backstory behind that name change?
Well, at work, I have a new haircut, but
Oh,
it's not that.
no.
Don't think about it too much. It's not that different from my last haircut. It's literally the same haircut as I usually have, but smaller. And all of a sudden, my boss was like, "What's that Johnny Bravo haircut you got?" So yeah, now I guess that's the new nickname going to the next season. Who knows?
Can,
Not to say,
can,
I don't.
can
I
you
don't
do a
think
Johnny
they're-
Bravo impression?
I don't know. I only know the Spanish version of Johnny Bravo. I don't know how the one in the English version talks.
Not to say, are
I
you
guess
even old enough to remember the show Johnny Bravo back in the?
yeah, my siblings used to watch that, and I used to watch what they watch. So I guess I can say, "Ay, mama."
Well, Ulysses, congratulations on the second place finish here tonight. Incredible season as we documented. Some great momentum heading into season 65. Fifth in overall standings and closing out with a podium in the finale tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Oh, a big shout out to all my buddies, my Team Rekimo buddies, Grant McDonald's. He had a good run, but he was taken out later on, and I feel bad for him. Mike Mangiolori, Pan McCarskey, Doug Hewlett, they all came tonight, raced with me, but unfortunately they didn't have a finish as the same finish as I did. So I'm dedicating this finish to them and also to my NCRA buddies, you guys, and especially this finish is also I dedicated to Antonio for the mess I caused him last time. A dedication for him, and also I dedicate this finish to Mama Sandoval. She's right beside me, waiting for me to finally get to bed. So yeah, I guess oh man, this season has been wild. I can't wait for next season. So see you guys on the next season.
That's Ulysses Sandoval, your runner-up finish here tonight in the finale at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations on a great run, a great season. Best of luck in season 65.
Best of luck, you guys. See ya.
User was moved out of your
I
channel.
love that question, Kyle. Are you old enough to know about Johnny Bravo?
I don't think he is. I think he's only
Well,
like, what,
now
20?
Seth gets to ask Grant.
I'll
the
say.
question.
I was really tempted to interview him with a Johnny Bravo voice, but I wasn't sure if he'd get the reference.
No, But now, Seth, you get to ask Grant his question.
I do get to ask Grant the question, so let's see if we can now go down to victory lane and dial up tonight's race winner, tonight's champion, Grant
User
Wesley.
was moved to your
Hey,
channel.
Grant, Michael, Kyle, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Woo! Yes.
Well,
I got a
okay.
copy.
Is this Donnie Garrett or is this Grant? I mean, normally he starts out with the woo, but man, I hate to call it an under the radar season because you look at the statistics, they're definitely there. The consistency is there. But we're used to seeing you have maybe 2 victories before we get to the playoffs. You had the one, you had the consistency. What a time to get that second victory here tonight, but what a way to do it as well. A 1-lap shootout in the season finale. You can't script these things.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, that's the way it should be raced, right there at the end, a freaking 1-lap shootout, and the guy that you're racing is right at your door, and you're first and second. I mean, my palms are sweaty, and retrospect, just to think about what actually won this for me was the fact that I led the most laps last week, and I led a lap this week. Otherwise, it would have been a tie because I got 4th last week, and he got 4th this week, and we each won. So, I mean, gosh, I just
Are your knees weak too?
I was going to ask him
oh.
that. I was literally
Moms are
thinking
sweaty,
that, and I
knees
was
weak,
waiting to
mom's
see if someone
spaghetti.
else was going to say it.
I know Donnie, he really wants this super bad, man. He's been supporting the series for a long time, and man, my heart goes out to him. I hate that, he had to come that close. It stings. I mean, I've been there. These championships are so hard to get. These wins are hard to get. I can't believe I won tonight, but yeah, my heart goes out to him. It was an awesome championship 4 battle.
Let's talk points because you kind of alluded to, you knew the situation between you and Donnie. How difficult is it to do the calculations there, especially when you have so many other drivers out there that aren't battling for a championship? They're kind of the X factors into shifting points in a positive or a negative light, depending on where you're situated with the other championship for.
Oh man, it's difficult. I mean, you can have a rough idea, but you never know exactly for sure until the race is over and the points are drawn up. I kind of knew a Goldilocks zone of where I wanted to be in front of Donnie, and it was, he had to be a little bit closer if I won the race. I truly did not expect to be able to get this win tonight. I knew it was going to be tough just to, come out on top for the championship 4. But yeah, you just try not to dwell on that stuff throughout the race. I mean, you definitely look at it, you definitely consider it. Kind of like halfway through this race, the 4 of us were all grouped together mid-pack, and then it really brings it to the forefront of your mind. And yeah, it's hard to keep track of that stuff.
We put a lot of emphasis on the second row on that final restart, the pushers that you guys were going to have. Donnie was able to stay alongside you through 1 and 2, which kind of surprised me because at both this racetrack and Talladega, it seems like on restarts that inside line gets a little bit more momentum. It's the shorter way around the racetrack, and you're able to get clear off of turn 2. So what were some of the things that you were trying to do there inside the race car, being the lead machine on that inside line, to make sure that you guys were going to have that momentum down the back straightaway, eventually get clear over into 3?
Yeah, well, one thing that kind of played into that, so I usually run H pattern shifter, and I think most people know that H pattern, you can get a little better start with it over sequential. And I've been having issues with mine, so I went sequential, and I know that hurt me a little bit, but I think a lot of people are doing it. I was a little surprised we didn't get the jump as well. I really fully expected to still be able to kind of get a little better start. I'm not sure if Ulysses and Donnie's in cahoots there. I'm not sure. They've been running. I do know they've been running really well together lately, so I'm sure they were. But yeah, you got to roll with the punches. If you don't get a good start, man, you just got to give it your all and just hope that someone finds you and pushes you. Which watching the replay, I certainly found some help behind me.
We talked about the run that you had where you had 3 championships in the span of 4 seasons. Of course, stuff out of your control last season did not afford you being able to run the full time during the regular season, weren't able to garner enough points near the close to get a playoff position. But I mentioned about the fact you were really consistent, really strong there during the playoffs, despite not being in the title picture. You carried that momentum over here into this season. How good does it feel knowing that you maybe could have had a shot at it last season, you're able to run the full season here, be able to close it out with your 4th championship in the Talladega Challenge Series?
Oh, it definitely feels good to follow up such a strong season last season. Yeah, like you said, I missed a few races and I wasn't able to compete for the chase, and we of course with nothing to lose, man, we ran so strong. Sometimes that's the mentality to have, but it's hard to do that. Yeah, it feels great. Couldn't have pictured it any better way, to back that up with winning a championship this season.
So you're going into season 65 as the defending champ. There's going to be some changes. No longer going to be in the Aero 88 cars. We're moving over to the NXS 20 machines. What do you think? What from a driver, an ingoing champion's point of view, are you thinking we're going to see there? Do you think there's going to be a period of adaptation? Have there been enough races run in the series that currently houses that mod at super speedways that there'll be some familiarity already there? What are you expecting as you look to defend that title next season?
I think I'm looking for history to kind of repeat itself a little bit. I know when we first switched to the Aero 88 mod, I know the first handful of races was, we had a few cautions. Everybody was still trying to get acclimated to the new draft. So I'm sure, I can't recall how that mod drafts, how it sucks up, but I'm sure it's going to be slightly different, and it's going to be slightly different for everybody, and everyone's going to have to figure out how the draft's going to work now. And but I think once we get through that, you'll see just what you've seen here with the Aero 88s. They're all great mods, and I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Well, we could tell by that lengthy burnout that the elation was at an all-time high. The celebration down in Victory Lane, I'm sure, was something. Grant, congratulations on winning not only the finale here tonight, but the Season 64 Talladega Challenge Series Championship. We'll let you get back to your celebrating here in a moment, but first, we're giving the opportunity for Victory Lane and Championship. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Oh, man. I guess, yeah, this is going to be a little bit longer than normal. Let's just start with thanking the guys that put the broadcast on that helped pay for this. Donnie Garrett, Ultimate Garage Floors, Rodney Solons, Paint, and Bob and Tom Dixon. You guys continue to support these broadcasts season after season. It is much appreciated. I want to thank, gosh dang, I got a laundry list of people to thank for tonight. It just seems like I jotted down some names of just drivers that I was finding at the right time. Brian Schilling, Tim, XFM, Jeremy and Demar, BSR, the whole BSR crew, Ronnie, Ken, Kelly, John, Greg Palmer. I'm sure there's someone I forgot. I'd like to thank the owners, David Cannon, Sean Prime, for giving us a great place to come race. Had Knockout Q here several times this season. Thanks to all the drivers just for showing up and making us such a competitive league. Thank the admins here, Josh, Tim, and Rodney. You guys do awesome. FRN, as always, man. Mike, Kyle, Seth, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Like to thank my teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend, Brittany.
Well, Grant Wesley, 4th championship of his Talladega Challenge career. He gets the title here tonight in Season 64. He'll look to defend it into Season 65. Congratulations on a job well done, Grant. Go and enjoy this.
Thanks.
You hear the sigh of relief there by Grant Wesley as he wins the
I
finale.
think that was more like a sigh of exhaustion.
Could very well be. Maybe a little of both. Yeah. He'll get the win here tonight. He'll lock up the championship. Again, big thanks to Jeremy Jeffries for getting the point standings updated officially, guys. Championship. People kind of wonder, 2-race finale. No way it's going to be close for the championship. How about 2 points? Grant Wesley over Donnie Garrett here tonight for that championship title. Dunlap Pratt will finish 3rd in the overall standings, 22 points back, and Josh Metallic will finish 4th with 2 victories on the season, 38 points in arrears of our final for competitors. But something, guys, I was looking at here as far as Grant Wesley's statistics, he talked about how difficult it has become now really to win races with just how everybody in terms of experience has been able to equal out. There's been a lot of parity of drivers that have taken checkered flags here. The thing that stood out the most to me, Grant Wesley, laps led 140 circuits out in front. That's 12% of the laps that we've run during the course of this season. Next closest to him was Tim Knopfsker at 108. They're the only two that hit triple digit. Grant seems to have a knack of getting to the front, staying at the front. That's where the consistency comes in.
And consistency wins championships, as we've seen, in the past in NASCAR and other racing series, and saw it yet again this season.
Yeah, it's, can't wait for the next one. This race was fun. Coming down to a one-lap shootout to be crazy like that, it's always why it's fun to tune into this series.
Absolutely, and it's going to be really interesting. We're going to have a lot of storylines during this offseason heading into Season 65 with that new mod change. Of course, there were a number of drivers that made their first appearance in the playoffs during the course of this season, like Sandoval, LaPrade, Hagley. First time we saw them make their way into a hunt for a championship. Could there be some other new names that we'll see make it into the playoff grid in Season 65? Who knows? We've got a lot of stuff.
One thing.
Okay.
Listening to Grant's interview, it was very weird to have Dust in the Wind playing in the background. Usually how I like to pick a song during interviews sometimes to kind of like try to fit the bill.
Yeah.
For some reason, I figured Dust in the Wind was kind of the right one because he won the championship, but it's also the last race for this mod.
It
so
is.
I was like, maybe this will fit. Nah, it was just weird.
It was just weird. I mean, the explanation makes sense, but I guess the payoff just didn't hit like you were expecting.
It's, hey, I won the championship. Dust in the Wind.
Well, folks, we've got a little bit of an off season here, a couple of weeks before they'll start getting everything situated for the upcoming 65th season of the Talladega Challenge Series. We do have some events coming up, including tomorrow night. We'll be crowning a champion in the Amish's Survivor Series at South Boston. We've got that event as well as a pole race immediately following. That'll be at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time later on Friday night, tomorrow evening. And then, of course, as well, we've got the All-Star races that are going to be running. April 28th, we've got the Speedway All-Star race for the RTG side. And then on May the 1st, it's going to be the Super Speedway All-Star race. Grant Wesley, of course, by virtue of winning the championship, a couple of wins during the course of this season, he'll be a part of that, looking to maybe get another checkered flag, carry that mid-season momentum into the brand new 65th season. Hopefully you'll join us for all of those. But Michael, Kyle, it's been an incredible ride here. Appreciate Kyle joining us midway through the season. Been a great addition here in the booth. An incredible season full of parity. We've seen some first-time winners. We've seen some underdog stories. I believe tonight was the second one-lap shootout we've had during the course of the season. We've had a little bit of everything here, and again, can't script it. Comes down to the final race, final lap. Top two in the point standings, on the front row, duking it out for the title. It's just what we seem to come to expect when it comes to the Talladega Challenge Series.
It's been a great season. I want to thank you guys for letting me join you early on in the season. Looking forward to doing all the races next season. Can't wait to see what we have coming next.
Welcome to the LA Bed and Breakfast.
And as Kyle alluded to, yes, we are going to be covering that 65th season, so be sure to join us as we'll be bringing you every Thursday night's coverage of that upcoming new battle for the championship. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to our coverage here tonight. Once again, congratulations to Grant Wesley, tonight's race winner and Season 64 Talladega Challenge Series champion. Congratulations to Brian Schilling, being the Bracket Challenge champion, and we appreciate everybody tuning into our coverage, not just here tonight, but during the entire course of Season 64. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage here tonight. Thank you once again for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to close out yet another series for Rolling Thunder Gaming. But until then, for Michael Norman, Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next season as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
Bye-bye.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.